Okay, so let's start. Peter, we've already talked on Friday, so nice to see you again. But I'll start introducing myself. So my name is Dario Talmesio. I'm Research Director for Service Provider Strategy at Omdia, the sister company to Informa Tech, the organizer of Network X in Paris, taking place soon. Peter, it's an important month for you and the Network API initiative. But before that, please give us a little introduction of yourself and what you do at Deutsche Telekom.
Yes, thank you, and happy to do so. So I'm Peter. I'm running a business unit at Deutsche Telekom, which we have found at the beginning of this year. And with that business unit, we are exposing our APIs to the external world, to our customers, and I'm the head of this one, being in charge of that business end to end.
Fantastic. Well, let's kickstart where you left it. Peter, I mentioned earlier on, this is a very important month for network API exposure. You recently had an announcement about leading service providers joining forces and creating a new joint venture or venture. Can you tell us a little bit more about it? What is it about?
Yes, we just announced this new venture, absolutely right. And 12 companies or 12 telcos plus a technology partner came together to accelerate the adoption of API. So these 12, this is for me easy to remember because it's 4 plus 4 plus 4. So we look at the western part of the hemisphere. This is the 3 American providers, AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile US, plus America Mobile. Then we have the 4 in the middle, the European ones, Vodafone, Telefonica, Orange, and us as Deutsche Telekom. And then we look to the eastern part, where we have Geo, Bharti, Singtel, and Telstra. Together with the technology partner, which is Ericsson, we have decided to take something in our hands, which probably had been one of the bigger hurdles to really drive network APIs forward. And this is all about the aggregation of these APIs. Now, these APIs, and let me pick one. So for example, number verify, what is a beautiful way to authenticate someone in a much better way than these one-time passwords we have seen in the past. So that doesn't add too much value if this API is just existing in one network, because our customers who will make use of this API need a broader coverage. Now, we had been privileged in Germany that together with Telefonica and Vodafone, we had already a very decent market coverage. But still our customers, like any of the banks, even if they just operate the bank in Germany, turned around and saying, but our end customers, our consumers, they travel also outside Germany. So that API needs to work elsewhere too. And this we ran into quite often, no surprise. And that led us in going that step forward in saying, now we could wait for the entire industry to pick up these APIs, or we just shift gears and come together. And with that now aggregation function, we take our destiny in our hands and drive the adoption by far much faster forward.
So you mentioned the customer demand, and you mentioned the need for a layer of aggregation, kind of single point of accessibility and discoverability. That's great. But tell me a little bit more about the go-to-market model of the new venture.
Yes, there we spent quite some time when building this one up, because on the one side, we want to keep this venture as lean and clean and thin as possible, because we do not want to add a huge overhead. So it should be really rather a smaller thing than a large organization. And this is why we limited ourselves to a smaller number of potential customers this venture is serving. And there we mainly talk about multipliers, about developer market spaces, like we'll find them with the hyperscalers. So for sure, the hyperscalers are one of the customer segment. The second one are the today's CPaaS aggregators. So those also have many, many million developers they serve. So we added those. Then we realized that we probably need to really understand our customers' challenges better. And we as a telco probably don't have access to really the core decision makers on our enterprise customer side. So we needed the SIs, which we added. And then this was all around software companies whom we'd like to integrate these APIs. So the fourth customer segment are the ISVs, the independent software vendors. And then finally, we can also buy back the aggregated APIs because one important customer group is missing with the four I've just mentioned. So the four, again, the hyperscalers, the aggregators, the SIs, and the ISVs. Now one large group is missing, or the other enterprise customers, and they get served by us, by the CSPs. And this is why we need to buy back and consume or at least resell these APIs too.
Now, Peter, I've been in the industry for some time, and I know you have too. And I can't avoid going back into the past a little bit, maybe because I'm getting older, spend more time thinking about the past than I used to. But we have seen several attempts at the API market by telecom operators in the past. Not necessarily successful, let's be honest about it, or maybe it took longer than anticipated to make it happen. So what makes you confident that this time around is going to work?
First, there is not 100% guarantee, for sure. There will be still challenges we need to master. But we really look back and ask ourselves the same question, because honestly, when we turned around, and it was a smaller number than the 12 at the beginning, so when that inner circle of these 12 turned around to the other ones, we got the same question. So why should we really do so? And let me name a few things where we believe we really made the difference. So first of all, this is not a venture amongst ourselves as telcos, because there, looking back, we have seen many ventures or joint ventures where telcos came together. In our particular case, sure, we came together, but we have chosen one strong technology platform partner. In that particular case, it's Ericsson, and Ericsson holds 50%. So in other words, for now that venture to come up with a majority vote, it just needs Ericsson plus one telco, plus one of the CSPs. So that definitely is a much faster setup than a bunch of companies coming together. It actually just takes two. Now, the second one is we also ensured that we don't have a board-led endeavor. We have a strong management team we put in place, and this is running the company. So we sure are giving the left and right guardrail, but within these, then it's the management team, and we step back. We really would like and we encourage this one to then take over. And let me call out the third one. We have not set up this venture to really generate huge dividends as the ones who now founded it. For us, it's all about acceleration and the speed we would like to gain. And that translates into that there is absolutely no reason for any other telco to now not join us, because there's absolutely the same terms and conditions for everyone, whether you are invested or not invested. So we are inviting everyone to join us, and everyone benefiting now from APIs being available much faster in the market. And probably I should, even if it's 1, 3, or 5 things, you should call out. Let me call out a fourth one. I think we also have realized that we were not that successful in addressing developers by ourselves. I mean, if I just look back at what Deutsche Telekom did, there were quite a lot of unsuccessful attempts. And this is why we have realized that we need to get these channel partners with us and on board. This is why we have this go-to-market strategy with the aggregators, with the hyperscalers, with the system integrators, because we need the entire ecosystem to be successful.
And just one more follow-up on all of that. Sorry if I use an example, but if, let's say, I'm a developer and need Google Maps API, I go on their website, they're all there, the pricing is clear, and it's available. What's going to be like with this venture?
But this will be a very similar experience in the future. So first of all, we have not built the venture for it to become a huge brand. It's a utility. It's something we put underneath the ecosystem you are already in. So if you are in the Google ecosystem, you will find our APIs in the Google environment you use to work with. If you are an AWS or a Microsoft Azure user, you will in the future very likely find them. So we are bringing our products into your well-known framework. And this is why you do not have to change. It's us integrating what we now bring to the table and enlarging your capabilities. And we do that as simple as the things you've seen before. This is why it's so important that we have built this venture where you then find one SLA and one price, and not hundreds of different SLAs and hundreds of different prices. This is exactly the huge advantage of this venture.
That's terrific. And Peter, going into the past, but much recent past, I was with you last year in Cologne when you launched, we were the first operator to launch network APIs with Ericsson at your event. What happened since?
So it really reminds me of something we also will have this year in September. And then we have the first anniversary of what we have presented in the past. So when we did that last year, you're absolutely right. We have been the first one launching network APIs to the market. Now, to be honest, not everything was fully ready. So our service exposure platform was not ready. There we had to rely on our partner Vonage to do many things which in the future we would like to do. So this is something we will present this year at Digital X. And we also haven't had the aggregated version. We had been the first ones presenting these APIs. And then, as mentioned earlier, what then happened, we turned around to customer and they were really excited about the opportunities. But then they asked us, now what about your others market competitors' availability of these APIs? And this is where it was very clear. It's not about competing against each other. It's about jointly generating this new market. So this happened over the past 12 months. We have now aggregated APIs, and we were a little faster in Germany, but that was just somehow the proof point of that this one works. So we have the aggregated APIs already available. We have the first customers and use cases available. We have added a few more APIs. So quite some progress over the past 12 months.
Very good. Just very briefly, you mentioned few first customers, few first use cases. Can you just drop a few names and use cases?
Yeah. So there are two I really like. I do not want to say most because then that would translate in the others not being like that much. But let me call it two. So the one which we have talked a little more often, also at MWC, is the solution we have for these mobile camera teams. So the mobile camera teams in the past they had the camera, and then the camera needed to upload the data. Since it's a mobile camera team, it used a mobile network connection, and not one SIM card, not 2 or 5. It had 10 of us and 10 of our competitor, and with the 20 SIM cards and a lot of hope, they then aggregated or merged these upload capacities, and then hoped that this was good enough so that you had then a very good uplink of the video you have just produced. Now, what we have introduced is 5G live video production, and that comes with just one SIM card and a slice which you can book in our network. And with that slice, where you are then the only one using that particular reserved part of the network, you do not need to have the hope any longer. You have more or less a much better guarantee that the data is then uploaded. So this is something we had already presented at MWC, and this is a case which I like really a lot because it's so obvious where the customer added value lies. Now, the one we are now presenting is also a beautiful one because quite some APIs come to play. So in that particular case, it's a food retailer. It's actually the second largest one in Germany, called Rewe. And they had participated in a customer loyalty program where they just stepped out. And one of the reasons was that they had quite invested some decent money into that. And they were not that excited about all the information they got back. So they came up with their own system, and they are combining APIs with AI. So the APIs provide information about the location, about the customer themselves. So the API is called KYC. Plus, we have number verify for a silent authentication. This together with AI functionality gives the user a fully new customer experience when it comes to customer loyalty. So this is probably the second. Let me call out a third one, because this one I also like quite a lot, and it was not so obvious. Whenever you talk about quality on demand, you think about this huge bandwidth needs you do have or someone has, like in that video example I've just mentioned, but also for the small tiny ones, there is a very good use case. And this is all around these events where you do have a merchandising function, you have these mobile payment terminals, but on the other side, you have a very crowded cell. And it's not really guaranteed that this mobile payment is gone through. And now by, again, booking a slice, but in this particular case, not one with a huger upload capacity, it's just a small, tiny bandwidth you need, but it has to be guaranteed. And with quality on demand, you can grant the availability of the network, and with that, ensure that this mobile payment system is working. So that's my third example. There are many more. So and we are inviting everyone to talk to us, because let me add that one last thing. I have a bet out, and that bet is all about that I'm betting that for every customer, we find at least one, and I actually told our sales teams too, but I reduce it for the bet to one, API, which adds value for customers. It either increases their revenue or decreases their costs. And the bet is out. If I'm missing to really make that proof point within 30 minutes, then I'm buying the management team dinner. So this bet is out. So there are many use cases where companies can benefit from.
Very good. Well, I hope you don't have to buy too many dinners, but if you do, make them enjoy as much as you can. Peter, thank you so much. Looking forward to seeing you at Network X and asking many, many more questions about the progress you're making with the industry. Thank you so much.